Hello everybody. On this episode, I guess you could say, we'll be talking about guilds. Now, a guild is a combination of plants that are grouped together and they feed each other through symbiotic relationships. A symbiotic relationship is basically a beneficial relationship between two or more parties. So in terms of plants, we'll be looking at a plant that feeds the soil, helping another plant next to it who might need that specific nutrient. In particular, there could be nitrogen, a very common one. So for example, a runner bean can be planted next to your tomatoes, and the runner bean will produce nitrogen. It will take nitrogen from the air and put it into the soil. And basically the whole thing about nitrogen is that nitrogen is abundant in the air. It's just that there's not a lot of plants that can take it from the air and put it into the soil. And it does this through changing the compound of nitrogen to a digestible compound of nitrogen which is in the soil for all the other plants to eat off of, basically. So there's a few aspects of a guild which I'll go through first. So there you go, aspects of guild. Number one, food for us. Number two, so food for us could be like your potatoes. So number two is food for the soil. So this is what we were just talking about plants that provide the soil with nutrient. So these involve mineral accumulators like stinging nettles and comfrey, for example, and nitrogen fixers as well, like the runner beans. So number three, we have our diggers and miners. Our diggers and miners are important because they aerate the soil. So what we're talking about here is plants that have long, deep roots that penetrate the surface and the different layers of the soil. And basically what this does is it aerates the soil so that oxygen and water can flow better into the soil, and also worms, for example, can move through the soil more effectively and efficiently. So these kind of plants, you'll be looking at your root vegetables. So for example, carrots and parsnips are good plants that can help here. And then also your stinging nettles and comfrey can also have a function here as well, because they have deep roots that will penetrate the soil as well. So number four, we have our ground cover. Now, the ground cover aspect of the guild is what it says on the tin. It's a plant that covers the ground. These plants are vigorous. They can be, for example, creeping thyme, and it's also good if they have multiple functions as well. So plants that you can also eat. Quite typically they can be a herb as well, so a medicinal herb, and a herb that spices up your meals. Another function of it is it could be a protector of the guild, which will fend off or distract insects that could possibly be a threat to other plants in the guilds. And they also suppress any other plants, unwanted plants, or slow other plants down, so that your guild has a chance of succession in the ecosystem. So yeah, we're looking at thyme here, or creeping thyme. Another really important aspect of the or point to make about the ground cover is that it protects the soil from erosion. So when the soil is left uncovered, basically the sun burns the top layer of the soil, and the wind, and it basically turns it to dust and crumbly, and the wind will blow this away, and also the rain will erode the top layer of the soil, because the water will fall, and it will fall to the lowest point on the earth, taking with it the crumbly topsoil that's left after the sun has scorched it. So this prevents that from happening. It harnesses the water, stores the energy of the water, so it makes it quite humid, and it gives a lot of life a chance to live as well. There's a lot of insects and bugs that live in these conditions, and that are able to reproduce because of ground cover. The next aspect of a guild is your supporters. So the supporters could be a tree. It could be like your hazel, your willows. More often than not, they are trees, and you can also propagate hazel and willow sticks and bamboo sticks. You can propagate them so they're still alive, or you could propagate them and dry them, so they're actually dead, so they won't grow. But you will have a standing structure like you see in the garden shops. You buy the bamboo sticks, so that's a supporter of the guild. They can also be like productive trees, like apple trees, cherry trees, etc. That will add multiple functions to your guild. And the idea of this is basically to create another space for plants to grow. So for example, you could grow vertical from supporters, and also naturally they do support the ecosystem. If you're looking at a tree, for example, their roots are really tough, and they hold the ground, hold the soil structure together. And yeah, so supporters, you're looking at trees, bamboo, so the thing that would climb up the structure would be your vines, your climbers. And this could look like your runner beans, for example, which we had up here, food for the soil, which are actually food for you as well, and they're also a climber as well. So basically this creates another aspect of growing, because you're growing vertically, therefore it saves space. It means you can fit more plants in a small area. and yeah, and to not waste space basically. So here we'll put runner beans again. So the seventh layer of the aspect of a guild is the protectors, and the protectors are plants that help the ecosystem by deterring pests and diseases as well. And these plants, you're looking at your marigolds, for examples, or different types of flowers, anything that smells. I also like to put like acidic stuff as well. I think that deters pests away, like your chives and your onions and leeks and stuff like this. So putting them next to your salads, for example, from my experience, has really helped. Cool. So there are all the aspects of the guilds. If you have any questions, please let me know. I wanted to keep this video short and sweet, so that I'm not overwhelming you with information and you can quickly flick through videos. But yeah, I'd love to hear any feedback or any questions that you have. Thank you.